Hi everybody, this is Brian Melblom from the Ventura County Pirates and Ventura County Buccaneers, and I'm going to show you how to use the iScore app to capture stats and upload them to our league website. Now to be clear, SportsEngine and iScore are two separate entities, two separate apps. The SportsEngine database is where all of the team data lives, all the players, all the rosters, all the stats, all the games. For the purposes of our leagues, they live in the SportsEngine world. iScore is an app that is used to capture the stats from our games as they're happening, which we then export back to SportsEngine. The most important thing here is that you do not add any new player info in iScore. Any number changes, name changes, I mean, maybe that could happen. New players added all have to be done on the SportsEngine side of things. So do not use Player Manager to create new players. Don't go in here to Team Manager to create a team. I'm not even really sure how the League Manager thing works here, but just don't worry with that. All we're doing is a Game Manager. All you're going to do is hit Add Game and Discover Game using your SportsEngine login. Before I go there, let me repeat. Do not add any players to a roster using the iScore app. If you do that, any stats you capture from a game and try to export will be rejected and you'll be forced to type in everything manually. So just to be clear, use the SportsEngine app to make sure that your team roster is up to date before each game. Maybe send a courtesy email or text to your opposing coaches or manager or sports information director, whoever's doing the stats, just to let them know your roster is up to date. Or if you have any changes, those have to be done in SportsEngine before the game is discovered in iScore. If you discover the game before the roster change is made and then try to export it, the game still might be rejected. So once again, just you can always go back and rediscover it. But once all the rosters are set, only then do you go in here, Game Manager, Add Game, hit Discover, log in through SportsEngine. It didn't ask me for email and password because I'm already logged in. You might have to do that the first time. In any case, we'll go into our league, Sunset Baseball League. And this is a fake game I just created for demonstration purposes. But we'll pick this one here, Pirates at the Legends. Then on the top right, hit Import. It'll ask to make sure. Go ahead and say yes. And just like that, it's in our system now. Now just go back. There's our game. We've discovered it. It's pulled it from the SportsEngine database. I should add, obviously you need an internet connection for this part of the process, and then again for exporting later. Once you have all that information, we're certain that the rosters are current and the game information is correct, you do not have to have an internet connection to score the game in iScore. So once you open this up, this is where later on we'll be able to enter the pitcher's records and all that. And in my hurry to get this out to everybody, I forgot to enter in the pitching decisions at the end of this video. Try it out on your own to see what happens. Now I remember having this issue last year. For some reason, the game's only pulls 7 innings. I don't know why, but I'll show you how to fix that here. Let's go and hit Score Game. First off, for the first time you do this with a new team, is unfortunately it will say every single player on the roster is batting. Now, unfortunately, the only way to fix this is to go one by one. Say, is a player a starter? No. That's only referring to batting, not defense. So say no, not a starter. And then do the same for the visitors. So I'm going to skip ahead and come back once that's all cleared. Okay, now that I've cleared all the batters, you'll see there are a lot of people listed as various defensive positions. There's a lot of pitchers here. There's a couple first basemen, some catchers. Obviously, they're not all going to be on the field at the same time, and that's what that box is actually referring to. This is their current position on the field or as a designated hitter. So I'm going to go ahead and clear all these really quick. Okay, that's done. We've cleared everything out of here. Again, this should only happen the first time you import a team as part of those game discovery processes. It's annoying, but it doesn't take that long, and again, it should only happen once. Now, other things to keep in mind, if you tap anywhere outside of those two boxes for defense and offense, it'll bring up a player info screen. Best to stay away from here just to be safe. I think you can change whether they're a starter, their defensive position here, if you prefer. But it's just as easy to go in here. I'm just going to go straight down the roster. We'll say, yes, he's a starter. Again, that's only referring to batting. So we'll say he's at first base, leading off. Most yellow is batting. He'll be in left field. Another thing to notice is you can use the little box on the far right, that little box with the 3 lines icon, and you can use this to reorder the players. Unfortunately, it doesn't automatically sort numerically or alphabetically or anything at all. Just the nature of the beast, but it is handy to be able to do that. So I'm going to go in and set this line up here. We're going to have 10 batters in our league. Now, as we're having 10 batters, we have the DH and the EH. There's no extra hitter option, excuse me. So all you have to do, just leave the EH as blank. You'll say he's out. He's not in the field, but he's not the DH, meaning he's batting for the pitcher. So we're going to have JT Navarro be our pitcher. So you can have him pitching, not batting. And now, if you wanted to change anybody around in the batting order, you see anyone that says batting, it's just going to be entered in the order they are on this list. You could have this guy way down here. He'll be number 10. I like to have them all grouped together. It just makes the most sense to have them all in one place. On the flip side of that, though, make sure that nobody is selected way down here that's batting, because that'll throw stuff off when you get into the game. You don't want to have an 11th batter and then not realize it until it's too late and have to re-enter everything. Then I'll go ahead and do this for the visitors. I apologize for this video. Our players don't have numbers assigned yet, but I'll show you what that means and how to work around it. Okay, now that we have our rosters set on both teams, scrolling down, make sure there's no extra batters down there. Just to be absolutely sure. What the heck, I'll shuffle these guys around. We're all set. So I say done. This will bring up the scoring screen. Before we get too involved here, remember for some reason it only said 7 innings. It says 9 here. Go ahead and type a 9 again, hit return again, just to be absolutely safe. Settings here, 9 fielders. The dark one is the one that's selected. It's not really clearly indicated. By default, I think the sounds will be on. If you really like hearing a synthesized or pre-recorded guy yelling ball, strike out, that's up to you. I prefer it off, however. Pitch location first, don't worry about that. Record hit locations. This will not be sent over to SportsEngine, but you can use the iScore app to put together a spray chart. I'll show that in a different video, however. For the purposes of what our league definitely needs, just say no. View from behind, doesn't matter, that's pitching info. Skin, dark or light. I find in bright daylight, the light skin can be easier to see versus the dark. It's all personal preference. Scorekeeper level, say basic for now. Voice recognition, don't worry about that. Minimize questions, yes. You'll see what that means later on. Just more simplified. We're a baseball league, not softball. Simultaneous subs. That will ask you if you want to immediately insert somebody into a position on defense when they're making an offensive sub and vice versa. I just say ask. You could say no, but you have to remember to do that each time. Everything else should be the same. Yeah, you don't worry about that. So since we're all ready to go, I'm going to tap the play button in the bottom left. And the umpire says play ball. And you'll see some other things appear. Up near the top of the screen, you'll see the line score. Way up near the top, you'll see the visitor, the home score, the inning. The little triangle points up for the top, down for the bottom of the inning, of course. Number of outs, the batter's count. Beneath all that's the play-by-play window. That'll show everything that goes on. And then you've got your buttons on the bottom of the screen. I'll just go through them all. Ball, strike, obviously, foul for foul ball. So it's got a 1 and 2 count. Let's tap the out button. We'll say struck out swinging. Alternatively, if you hit strike again, it'll ask you what type of strikeout that was. Either one works fine. We'll say strikeout swinging. Another thing to keep in mind is you can swipe these buttons as well. You swipe up on the ball, it'll give you an intentional ball. Those are probably really rare in our league, but it's available if you need it. Swipe up on strike will give you a swinging strike. Swipe on foul, it just gives you the option to put where it landed, or of a spray chart, you know, making contact even if it's not a ball in play. If you want to keep that info, that's up to you. Swiping on the out will give you the quick out menu, which is one of the most helpful features in this entire app. You'll see how that all works in a minute. Swiping the in play button doesn't do anything. Of course, underneath here, the undo button will take away the last action you did. So let's clear that count. Say it was strike ball, not ball strike. Swinging strike, and not an intentional ball. Going deep into the stats on the iScore app all by itself, it can give you really detailed stats like the batter's average when he has a 1-0 count or a 1 count, things like that. But that's another episode of this. So let's say on a 1-0 count, we'll tap the out button. And let's say a line drive to short. Done. Miguel Garcia steps up. And once again, it's just saying 0 for all the batters because we don't have the numbers typed in yet. Just don't worry about that. But on the Orange County Legends, you can see that's all set. So let's put a ball in play this time. Now bear in mind, up on the top, you have this option here to say out or in play. It brings you to the same screen, just a different tab up top here. So maybe it's in play, you think he's going to be safe, and it's a great play. You don't have to cancel out and then hit the out button necessarily. But that's just there so you know. We'll say he hits a single on his first pitch. Now we don't have the hit location entered here, so it'll just say hit a single and he's safe on first. 2 outs already. I'll show you the quick menu. That's really handy. So let's say now on the first pitch, I'm swiping on the out button to get to the quick menu here. This gives you really common plays. 6-3, 5-3, 4-3, 1-3, 2-3, 3-1. Unassisted 3 or 3U. Sometimes we write that in the score sheets. That's what it's talking about. And of course the flyouts to the outfield. So let's say he flies out to center. That's it. Out number 3. And you see the inning is flipped. It's the bottom of the first, and now number 11, Nick Lopez stepping up for Orange County Legends. Also notice the 0 is already put in on the line score. That's just an unfortunate programming decision the guys made who made this app. For some reason, they put the 0 in immediately instead of waiting until a scoreless half inning to put that 0 up. Just keep that in mind. Keep an eye on the inning indicator on the top of the screen, just right at the center, to make sure you're in the correct inning when you're scoring this. So let's say Nick Lopez gets a 3-0 count, swings and misses, looks at another one, he fouls off a couple of pitches, and then puts one in play. Another thing to keep in mind, the in play button is where you'll find hit by pitch. So it's kind of weird place for that. I know it took me some looking at the first time. It was not really a ball in play. I guess it sort of is. Well, let's say he gets beaned. So he'll go to first, but it didn't get hit hard, and now he's going to steal second. So what you do, tap on the base runner, the number 11 there. Tapping on it will ask you what happened. If you want to do every single little thing, if people are watching you with the StatCast, which I'll show you another time, you could say pickoff attempt from 1 to 3, but that's just fancy stuff you don't really need to know. Let's say he steals second. Tap on him. What happened to him? Was he out, or safe, or a quick move? There's your pickoff attempts. You can say stole next base. You can do that. Let's do that. Stole next base. Quick. And again, you can get that just by swiping on his number. Now instead of saying stole next base, let's say he's safe at third. Stolen base. Same thing. There you go. So now he's on third. Mosiello. Let's say he fouls off the first 2 pitches, puts one in play. Here's a fielder's choice. That's what we'll do. Hits a little ground ball over toward third base. Third base throws home and gets him, the base runner out. So fielder's choice. Touch each position to handle the ball in the order the play occurred. Only include the positions making the outs. Now that's important because you could have a fielder's choice with nobody getting out, in which case you just hit the done button and move on. Maybe they tried to make that 5-2 out at home but didn't get it, in which case you just say done and it'll ask you what happened to all the runners. But we're going to say he's out. So 5-2. That's going to ask what happened to the guy at third. You'll say he was out at home, tagged out. 5-2. Ask you again. It's just one of those things about this app, but it makes sure everything's put in right. So we've got 1 aboard, nobody scored yet, 1 out. Let's say here's a wild pitch. Ball 1, put that in first, and then he's safe at second on a wild pitch. Strike 1, strike 2. Now let's say he swings at another wild pitch, strikes out, but makes it safe to first. We'll say in play. Or wait, no. Actually, let's say strike. It's going to say, is he out, safe, or quick? Wild pitch, third strike. We'll say he's safe. And then the runner made it to third. That's yellow. Made it to third on the wild pitch or on the throw. I don't think it'll add a second wild pitch if you do that. So you're getting the idea for it. So Gabe Garcia gets a 2-1 count. Puts one in play. What else can we do here? Oh, of course, the errors. Let's say grounds one towards second base. The second baseman bobbles it. So this guy comes home on the same error. He's safe on the same error. Now one thing too, this little arrow here, which you can move around, this is a way to bring up the score sheet. Maybe to just compare notes with whoever's keeping this on paper with you. Little handy thing to have if you don't need that play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch thing going in. Now before we get too involved here, I'm going to show you something. I've had this in portrait mode the whole time. And so you know, the app does work in landscape mode as well. But the problem is, for some reason, it only displays 9 batters despite that empty space between the last batter and the pitcher. We have 10 batters in our league. So it displays 10 when it's in portrait mode. When we go horizontal, you lose that 10th batter display. If you prefer it this way, that's up to you. Just know of that. And the problem is, if you twist it back this way, it doesn't make that 10th batter reappear. You have to exit and then bring the game back up in order to see batter number 10. So on an iPad, you can lock it in portrait mode just to prevent that from occurring. I just like to be able to see all the batters at once. I'm going to skip ahead, put in some other plays. I'll come back and show you some other important stuff regarding substitutions. All right, we skipped ahead. It's the top of the 7th inning. There's 2 outs. It's a close game here, 4-3 with the home side up top. I'm going to change the pitcher. It's as simple as tapping on JT Navarro, number 3. Scroll down or around whoever you want to put in at pitcher. Let's say Steven Fitzsimmons. Put him in and save. Simple as that. Now let's say we want to shuffle Gabe Garcia and Towns King in the outfield as well. So tap on Towns King. We'll just, with number 4, or the center field selected, we'll tap number 13, Gabe Garcia. It'll ask, you want to make the offensive sub? No, that's not how that works, so we'll say no. Leave him in the same spot in the batting order. So say no. And now we put Towns King back in right field. It's a little question mark underneath right fielder. It's asking who's going here because you moved this guy over. All right, we'll save. So we've made that other defensive switch. If you go in the play-by-play menu, it'll show you that as well. Gabe Garcia in for Towns King at center fielder. Towns King in for Gabe Garcia at right fielder. Or you can tap up here to get the pitching substitution. Now let's say he actually came in a batter early, which you can, and you didn't put it in time. You could actually just tap this here, the player, DeAndre Crowder, ground out to the, on the throw, yeah, etc., etc. So say the home substitution here. Now let's put in Fitzsimmons. Oh, he was actually the previous batter. That's a way to insert a substitution that you might have missed. We'll save that. So then this is irrelevant. It will go away. It won't affect anything. Remember, you can use these little buttons up top here to skip ahead, or not ahead, skip around in the innings. It'll send you right to the top of the inning that you tap. Scroll around. You can also go just swipe it that way. And again, the scorecard, you can see all the different plays entered there. Another way to see the full screen scorecard is tap on the bottom right, the image of the diamonds. You can look at each side of the score sheet. Doc does this over here. Again, you can swipe that around. Just a handy little thing if you prefer that. But yeah, we can go in. Yeah, there it shows the little purple line indicates the pitching change. Let's do a pinch hitter. We haven't done that yet. Griffin Hagen. I'm going to put in Brandon Vela in his place. Now, we don't know if he's going to come in at center field. We could do that now. I'm going to say no. We'll do it when he comes back out, but you have to remember to look for it. We'll save. He'll hit a line drive to first and be out. Now that the other team is out on the field, we're seeing that, yes, indeed, Brandon Vela did go into center field for Griffin Hagen. We don't know that immediately when they're making the offensive change, though, the pinch hitter. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Brandon Vela in at center field. Again, apologies for all the zeros lacking the jersey numbers. And there he is. Let's put in another pitcher, too. We'll see Doug Gregg. Okay, we're back, and miraculously Ventura County rallied in the top of the ninth. We'll just go ahead and record the final out. Let's see, a pop-up to the catcher. You'll notice a longer pause after entering that final out, then you'll say game over. At this point, you'll exit. Are you sure you want to exit the scoring screen? Yes, we are. And it's scored. Everything is stored in the iScore world. Now we just have to export it to SportsEngine. I'm going to try exporting it without plugging all the pitching decisions, save, blown save, all that. I don't think that actually transfers over to SportsEngine, but we'll see. And sure enough, I didn't enter any pitching decisions, and nothing got transferred over to SportsEngine. So here, you can try putting in the win, loss, and save, blown save, I believe, and it should transfer over, but I'm sorry I didn't do it on this video. Now we'll go to the options screen to export the game back to SportsEngine. So from the game info screen, we were just in here at score game. It says game over. Just hit exit. Yes. Back. You'll see multiple games in there later on. That's okay. All right. Options screen. And hit export. This part, you do need an internet connection. Don't think you actually have to have any special account or whatever. Just the iScore app has this under where it's the export button, says that customer ID. It's just automatically linked to the iScore servers. Tap export, and the data has been exported to the server. It says, I find it takes about 10 minutes or so before the exported game shows up in the SportsEngine world. If your SportsEngine account, if your SportsEngine app is set to give you notifications when games are updated, then you'll probably get that notification, so just keep an eye on your phone. We'll skip ahead and then I'll show you how it looks on the Sunset League website. And here we are. Good news is the game's synchronized, so it's been updated automatically in the SportsEngine world. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I don't know why this happens, but for some reason it drops the third of an inning or 2/3 of an inning from the innings pitch stat line. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind with pitching stats, just to make sure all the ERAs are correct, because those are affected by inning pitch, of course. So we'll go and edit the stats. So the Orange County Legends pitching stats. So there were 9 innings pitched and it only has 8 mentioned here. I believe JT Navarro was the starter. He did 6 1/3, and then Fitzsimmons did 2 2/3. So we'll go ahead and save that. Refresh, and sure enough, there it is. We got the thirds in there. The cool thing about this is that it includes the fielding statistics as well. All of this stuff here, not a lot of people keep that on a paper score sheet. This is just a few more things to enter. It's got this catcher stats, pass balls, stolen bases against, caught stealing. You know, we're on defense half the time, and fielder stats can easily be captured by this iScore app. And yeah, it's kind of annoying about the third of an inning, but if you consider all the other stuff the app does, I think it is worth going this route. So just remember those 3 steps. Discover the game. Make sure everybody's roster is accurate before you do that. Or if there are changes, simply delete and then rediscover the game. Step 2, score the game in iScore. And step 3, export the game from the options screen. Wait about 10 minutes and it'll pop up here. Hope this makes everyone's life a little bit easier over the summer. I'll make another video to show how to export the stats for manual entry for non-league opponents and things like that. But for all of our league games, this should make the lives easier for the home teams doing the stats. Thanks for watching.